friends who were there, they looked at me like, really? I'm gonna drink this thing with like there's like leaves in there. I'm like, just try it. I promise you it's gonna be good. Having this product in your home kind of helps you think more about sustainability.
Welcome to Growing Places, where we explore the stories of the entrepreneurs and innovators who are changing the way we eat. Today's guest is Mariana Ferreira. She embarrassed me earlier with the pronunciation of my R's, so I'm sorry if I jumbled that up a little bit. But welcome to the channel. It's great to have you here.
It's nice to be here, and don't worry about it. My last name is not easy to pronounce, but I'm happy to be here and to be talking with you.
I was wondering if we could actually start by going back a little bit and talking about your entrepreneurial journey. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about how you ended up here. It's my understanding that this is actually not the first startup that you've worked on. Could you tell us a little bit about your history and kind of how you ended up to be working on Ingarden?
You're right. This is my second startup. I'm very passionate about the food world and creating better products for people and planet. My first company was a vegan paleo ice cream company. We made everything with natural ingredients. So that's the first business that I had. And there was a couple of other roles in between. And eventually I was looking for a way back into that space. And that's how I reconnected with Christian and joined Ingarden within the first year.
Tell me about where your interest in food came from. What's the kind of background and history to that?
It's a good question. I think it comes from a couple of places. One, my dad has always worked in agriculture, so I understood a lot from that kind of early stage. First is agriculture, then it's the food getting produced, and then it goes to the grocery store to the end consumer or however you buy it. And the second reason why I was very interested in it and always thinking about it is because I've lived in a lot of different places, and I noticed that unfortunately not everything is the same where you live in one city or country, and the nutrients that's available to you, the freshness is not equal everywhere. Those two things together always made me curious about how can we improve what options people have.
In thinking about the journey that you took to kind of become interested in food, were there any authors or books or shows or resources that you particularly remember as being useful and having really inspired you to go down this path?
Throughout the years, there's been different people that I've really enjoyed following or reading about. Somebody that I find really interesting is, for example, Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a bit of a online personality. He's written books as well. There's a lot of what he talks about is food is medicine, which is a principle that we include in everything that we do at Ingarden. Listening to people like him has been very influential.
How did you meet your co-founder, and can you tell me the story of how Ingarden actually got started?
So Christian and I actually worked together in a different company before. We worked together in a skincare beauty startup, online only beauty company. We had the same boss. We had different roles in it. I was leading the US business and he was doing business development for the company. And that company was acquired. We saw it through the acquisition. And shortly after that is when he got started with Ingarden. I contacted him. We stayed in contact. And a few months later, I joined Ingarden once they had just officially launched the website because it made sense with exactly what I was looking to do. And full circle, our boss then is now one of our investors and advisors. So she was also very encouraging for us to work together again.
That's cool. You obviously made a very favorable impression on her.
I would hope so. Yeah, she put money on the line.
There's no greater vote of confidence, I guess. So well done. Tell me a little bit more about the mission of the company. What is it that Ingarden is really trying to achieve?
So with Ingarden, we want to replace stale and old supplements with real food alternatives. That's why we really think about food as medicine. A microgreen, which is what you can grow in these Ingardens, I have one right here, they are 40 times more nutrient dense than your average vegetable. What that means is the
Hmm.
nutrition that you would get in like a whole head of broccoli, you could get in 1 or 2 ounces of microgreens. So really what we're trying to teach people is this isn't just a topper that you add to something to look nice. It actually can supplement a lot of the vitamins and nutrients that your body needs. And it's a real food, fresh food that's alive.
And how did you guys actually launch the company? I mean, it doesn't look like a cheap product to manufacture. How did you afford to finance the first few production runs and really get the idea off the ground?
Very right about that. We care a lot about style and how it looks. I mean, we want this to be something that people are proud of and put it in a centerpiece of their home. It's not something to be hidden in the back. When we started early on, Christian actually worked with a Swedish-based design agency to do the design of Ingarden because that was one of our principles. And secondly, also we wanted to make sure that everything that we did was sustainably focused. So the Ingarden is made with stainless steel and ceramic for the bowl. So you can place the trays in the dishwasher, same with the ceramic bowl. And we got investment early on from an incubator that really also believed in the idea and helped us fund those initial stages of development and the initial orders.
There's obviously a few other microgreens kits on the market today. What are some of the things that you think make this product particularly unique, and how does it stand out from the other options that are out there?
What I would say, the person who purchases an Ingarden is the person who's looking for the easiest possible way to grow microgreens in the most stylish way possible. What I mean by that is this one that you see behind me, I actually put those pads on there last Tuesday and I left on a trip Tuesday night and I got back yesterday and they look perfectly fine. That's what our Ingarden
Yeah.
is meant to do. You're not like, you're supposed to take 5 minutes to set it up, come back a week later, and in the meantime, it'll grow. Also, we take care of how we have the in garden. So I mentioned we use a lot of sustainable materials in the actual garden itself. We don't have any plastic in there, no single-use plastic. And all of the seeds that we source are from small organic farms in Europe.
Is there any plans to source the seeds for the kits that you're selling in the US from the US, or are you going to continue to source those seeds from Europe and send them over here?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We're actually in talks with some local suppliers. Something that people don't realize is that, for example, if you get one radish seed, it's not always just a radish seed. There's different varieties available, there's different kinds available, and we really focus on that quality. So getting something that is of equivalent quality is the question that we're working on.
And you mentioned a couple of things already with respect to the materials that you've used. I'm curious to hear your view on like other ways that you guys have kind of approached sustainability, whether it be in the product design specifically or how you've set up the company. I gather that this is a relatively important topic for you. How have you kind of embraced that in looking at how you've built both the product and the company?
The product itself is made sustainably with sustainable materials, which means things that are reusable, recyclable, or have a long lifetime, such as ceramic, stainless steel, etc. Beyond the actual composition of the garden itself, our seed pads are 100% backyard compostable, meaning that once you finish harvesting the growing medium, you can literally throw it in your backyard and it will decompose. So everything about it is focused on that, our packaging the same. Another area where we really focus on sustainability company-wide is how we do it after a profit. So we're part of the 1% for the Planet initiative. We've also gotten certified for carbon neutral. Our products are certified carbon neutral. So those are other ways that we work with on a larger level how we can make an impact outside of just the product itself. And lastly, actually, we recently launched, it's on pre-order, but we will soon have it available as a real product once we manufacture it, our Ingarden Ocean. Our Ingarden Ocean is made with recycled plastic waste from the ocean. So We are committed to not using single-use plastic. And on top of that, we're making a garden that actually takes plastic out of the ocean and puts it into a product that we would like people to continuously use for a very long time.
For the benefit of people who are perhaps less familiar with microgreens, could we just circle back on that? And I'd love to hear you talk about exactly what microgreens are.
Yeah, absolutely. When a seed germinates, it starts the growth process. And then it usually goes from seed, germination, to a sprout, to a microgreen. And then beyond that, it continues its journey growing to a mature vegetable. At different stages, those plants have different nutritional values. So we like to harvest them at that microgreen stage, which means that that's where they have the optimum level of nutrient density. For example, if you take the vitamins and minerals that are inside of that small little vegetable that's growing, it compared to like the calories or starch also inside there, it's a good level that you have there. And not all seeds can really be considered microgreens. So that's the other thing that we need to think about is microgreens are usually seeds that germinate faster. So they are at this peak stage usually within 7 to 14 days. Our in-garden microgreens, we say that you can harvest them as early as 7 days. Some people will wait until that 10th day to have it grow a little bit taller, but that's the main difference. So there are vegetables that when they get to that, they need, for example, 28 days to get to that germination stage. That's really at that point not considered something that could be a microgreen.
Are there any scenarios under which someone would transplant the microgreens grown in your product into some other sort of growing medium or pot, or is that not how you would recommend using them?
I wouldn't recommend using our seeds for that, like to start a vegetable garden. But it's always, something that we can explore. It's something that I'd like to see if we could use, but it's not right now as it is today. You could not grab this and just, plant it outside.
Could you kind of walk us through the steps of actually getting this thing set up? We've just got home, we pulled it out of the box. Like, what's involved in actually getting the thing set up, and how long does it take? Is there any special equipment required or anything like that?
No special equipment required, water and power. That's it. So most homes will be fine. The way we have it is we have these tray systems. And we have our pre-seeded seed mats that come in these nice little boxes with an introduction to what they are and a little explanation of how to set it up. So I'll show you. Mm-hmm. This is how they arrive. Okay. So it basically looks like a piece of paper. And it's got the seeds already on there. They're not loose. If I were to shake it, the seeds aren't going to fall off, which is great. So that's one piece that removes the hassle. And then you really just want to pour water all the way over it, completely soaking that seed pad so that the seeds get their first level. And there's a thin layer on top that will make sure that the seeds don't move when you do that. So you just give it a lot of water, fill up the bowl as much as possible. I always recommend pouring it on top. And then usually a few days later, it'll look like this one that's right next to it, where you can see some of those greens are growing right there through the medium. Okay. And the last thing that you want to do is set up the light. And so we have 2 buttons here. So I'll turn it off just to show you. But you press this button, and when you hold it down, it blinks telling you, hey, timer's on. So now it's going to stay on for 12 hours and off for 12 hours. Leave on a trip, come back, and you'll have microgreens.
Very cool. And does it matter how much water you put in it initially? Is there a specific amount you're meant to add?
In this demonstration, I didn't show you all of it, but we usually just fill up the bowl almost to the top. So there's a ridge on the bowl that I'm not sure you can see through the camera, but there's a ridge here. So I put the water just below that. And that is enough water for the whole week.
So it can go a week at a time without any maintenance, and you literally don't need to touch the thing.
You don't touch it, and then 7 days later you would harvest it. So you can literally just cut these like this, and you can eat these right away. So this one I think is a arugula that's been there for 4 days or so. Yeah, that's arugula. That's peppery. And then you would just replace this tray and you place a new one like the one I just placed.
And do you have any kind of tips or insider secrets on how people could get the most out of their in-garden unit?
I like to keep my Ingarden in a corner. I think one, you don't want direct sunlight to be hitting it. So I keep it in the corner of my kitchen, usually not here. This is just for our video, but I usually keep it in a corner, a dark corner, so that the light that's hitting it is this light. This is an LED light that's meant to mimic the entire rays of the sun, and it's optimal for the growth of these microgreens. Secondly, depending on where you live, it could be a factor to think about the air around your house. So let's say you're in a place that's very, very dry. You may want to make sure that you are adding as much water as possible and that you really are completely soaking those pads, because seeds in general, they need that moisture, especially in the first couple of days. We also, for people who are looking for that extra moisture, or let's say they are in like an Arizona desert or somewhere where it's really, really dry, we offer something called our germination plates, which what they look like is they look at like this exact pad shaped, but on top, that will keep it moisturized even more for the first 48 hours. And then the last thing, seeds in general germinate better in warmer temperatures. So if you put it in a room in the winter, for example, that you don't keep the heat on, I would recommend putting it in a room where you do keep the heat on. Think about it as much as your other house plants, right? So if you took a house plant and you put it outside or you put it next to a really cold door, it's not going to be as happy as if it was in the middle of the living room or the middle of the kitchen, where it would be constantly in a perfect, ideal ambient temperature.
And so is there an ideal or optimal temperature range that we should be thinking about here, a maximum minimum temperature you would recommend?
I would say if you're comfortable in your home, your in-garden's probably comfortable. I mean, my house, we usually keep it around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 21 degrees Celsius. And the in-garden always seems to be fine. I do notice in the summer months, if it gets a little bit warmer, they grow a little faster would be the only thing. They like that heat. So maybe where it might take 7 days normally in the summer, maybe it takes only 5.5 days for it to be at that perfect level, ready to harvest.
Do you have any personal favorite microgreens flavors or varieties yourself?
Yes, the one that's behind me, which is why I'm growing so much of it, is the radish. Here, I'm going to cut some and show you
Okay.
for two reasons. So one, it's got these two beautiful colors. So it's got this like green
Oh,
leaf
wow. Yeah.
and this very beautiful red leaf, or purple, if you will.
Now, is that two different types of seeds that are mixed in there? Is that what's going on?
It's no, this is a radish mix. So it's just
Okay.
some seeds germinate red, some seeds germinate green. So they're like a little surprise. But I think they're beautiful. They're pretty big in comparison. The other thing is also these have been growing for over a week, and these on this side have been growing for about 5 days. But I'll show
Yeah.
you a comparison. This one, by comparison, is one arugula that's been there for 5 days.
Okay.
And this is a radish that's been there for almost 10 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big size difference, right? That's how fast they grow.
Yeah.
And in terms of flavor, this one is really like nice and spicy. So I think it adds a nice kick, almost like a ginger shot. And I mean, I really like ginger shots. So
Uh-huh.
I really like that one. This one, if you like the taste of arugula, like an arugula salad, this tastes just like an arugula salad. It's peppery. Like you can, at
Yeah.
a blind tasting, you'd be able to eat this macaroni and go, oh yeah, that's arugula.
Okay. Okay.
So
So we've got radish and arugula here. What are some of the other varieties that you guys offer?
yeah, so the one I just put water on, for example, is kale. We also have red cabbage. That's a new one. And mustard. We just launched red cabbage and mustard. Mustard also grows really fast. The red cabbage is similar. It will grow pretty fast as well and pretty tall. We have bok choy available. And we also sell a variety pack that's called our Superfood mix for someone who's not ready to make the commitment to just one. They want to like try a few. The superfood mix will give you that. It'll give you a radish, a mustard, arugula, so you can kind of try them all.
Just circling back to the setup process, you mentioned water and electricity before. To clarify, we don't need any plant food or nutrients here. Is that correct? And why is that?
There are a lot of plants that can benefit from nutrients, but they don't require them. A seed in itself has everything it needs to grow. That's how they would normally in nature. But secondly, the way that our seed paths work, it has enough a growing medium for the seed to be able to start its germination process. You don't need anything for these microgreens.
What are some of the most creative ways that you've seen people actually use microgreens? I've seen them very commonly on, avocado toast and salad. They're some of the more classical applications, but what are some of the more unusual ways that you've seen microgreens actually put to use?
Actually, one of my favorite recipes, which I get made fun of, maybe it's just a very American recipe, is our microgreen pancakes.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
I actually use the microgreens inside the pancake batter, and so it looks green. The pancake actually looks green. And because you're not like cooking a pancake for a very long time, you're not cooking the microgreens, so still intact in all of its nutrients and everything there. I think that's really cool. It looks cool, it tastes cool, and it makes something that would normally be unhealthy, maybe not healthy, but easier to convince yourself that you're doing something good. I've done it in cocktails too. When Christian was here visiting, we actually made a delicious microgreen cocktail that when I
Oh,
gave it
wow.
to my friends who were there, they looked at me like, really? I'm going to drink this thing with there's leaves in there. I'm like, just try it. I promise you it's going to be good. And it was a really good experience of having that green drink. And then like, as you're sipping it, there's like a little crunch in there. So I think you can get creative.
Okay, so I'm going to need to rewind a little bit on this microgreen cocktail. Tell me what else was in there. Like, what is the recipe for your microgreens cocktails? Because I have not heard of that one before.
It was something that was kind of like in the moment. I mean, I grow so many microgreens that sometimes I'm like, I need to eat these and I need to find ways to put it in my food. I made a gin cocktail. So what I used was gin, a splash of bitters, some soda water, a green juice that I bought, which I think the green juice had spinach, lemon, basil. I think that those were the ingredients. Maybe kale was in there too. So just like a typical green juice that you would get at Whole Foods or something. That plus the gin, plus the bitters, soda water, and then I put some microgreens on top.
It's kind of like a garnish.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
Awesome.
almost like if you were to make your gin cocktail healthy.
Awesome. You mentioned earlier the nutrient density of microgreens and that they're up to 40 times the density of their adult counterparts. Are there any sort of specific nutrient or vitamin benefits in the different varieties that you offer that people should be aware of? Are there maybe some common ailments or, symptoms or illnesses that people could actually think about treating with a specific microgreen?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, we've had a lot of people ask us, like, which microgreen should I eat for X benefit? And so we have actually provided on our own website, and I'm happy to share these with you as well. We've done full nutritional analysis of the different microgreens. So we have a sheet that will say, for example, we analyzed 1 ounce of kale microgreens, and here are the vitamins that it has, and here are the percentages that's in there of that. Kale, as an example, there is good in vitamin A and vitamin K. Vitamin A is really good for your eyes. Vitamin K is really good for muscles and energy production in general. There are other items like this, like red cabbage is also pretty good for energy. Arugula as well. Arugula also has some vitamin properties that are good for your bones. Definitely, if you're looking for muscle health, cardio health, if you're looking for brain health, if you're looking for just overall immunity support, then you can search through those and say, okay, kale will give me the vitamins that I need that support my immune system, or arugula will give me the vitamins that I need for the protein synthesis, which is for energy production.
So just to clarify, you actually had this lab testing done yourself? Like you paid to get your own kale tested? Wow, that's really cool.
We did. Yeah, we
Okay.
did. That kind of goes back to what I was saying about the quality of our seeds. Not every seed really is made equal. And we really focus on that. So when we sourced the seeds from the suppliers that we sourced with, we grew them and then we took the harvested greens, sent it to a lab, and they did an analysis on exactly those greens and those seeds.
Talk to me about the broader health benefits of just, gardening and growing microgreens in general. Like setting aside the consumption of them, what are some of the other health benefits that people might realize from actually just having one of these things in their home?
I think it can help you create better habits because it's not something stashed away in a cupboard that you maybe use once a month. It's something that's in front of you every day. If if you see it in the morning, like sometimes I wake up and it surprises me because it'll be just when the timer goes on. So then I see it like kind of turn on. And then, or in the evening, I'll see the light go off. And that's kind of like, it's this almost like this living entity in your kitchen because it's alive. They're plants that are there. I think the freshness of them too is a great benefit. So being able to say it wasn't something that was harvested 3 days ago, a week ago, literally, I cut this today and I'm eating this right now. That's where it's going to be at its highest level of bioavailability for your gut and nutrient density. Also, in general, I think that it helps, having this product in your home kind of helps you think more about sustainability. So you see it daily, you think more about, okay, what does it mean to get food on my plate? That's one. And two, I think the fact that it's fresh there right now, instead of something that maybe was harvested a week ago, or even if it was 3 days ago, it's still at its highest peak in that moment and it's in your home versus something that was coming from the grocery store.
What are some of the changes in your own behavior and habits that you've personally noticed since you've started having all of these Ingarden kits floating around your house?
I have become more sensitive to nature. I have to admit, I think about all of my plants more now and slowly growing a big collection of them. Even if just something in your home reminds you to think about, okay, what does this mean? How do I think about my other food items when I go to the grocery store? That's something that I've been thinking about even more now.
Looking ahead, I guess on a 3 to 5 year view, what are you guys trying to do with this company? Where do you hope to be able to take it over the next few years?
Yeah, we really want people to think of food as medicine and not think that they need to create all kinds of supplements in order to get the right nutrition. I think we started with this kit and with our microgreens to help people realize like there's something that is real food that can give you all of that. And beyond that, all the products that we would grow without spoiling what that would be would follow the same trend. It would be real food or as close to something that is alive as possible to really, continue the brand mission in that way.
And actually, one other important difference with this product compared to some of the others that we have listed on the site is that yours obviously has a grow light built into it. Could you talk a little bit about the decision to include a grow light with this and why some others don't have a grow light?
Our opinion on this is that you can see more success when you have a grow light, especially the type that we have, which is an LED light that has all of the same rays, the exact rays that these microgreens will do well in. So it's almost like creating a small little greenhouse, which is why I also don't recommend putting the Ingarden next to a window. Having those kind of competing lights is not the optimal way for them to grow in our system. And secondly, I think it allows people to be able to have this anywhere. Let's say you live in an apartment in New York and it's winter and you're not getting that much sunlight. You're not getting 12 hours of sunlight, obviously. Having something like this allows you to still have the same growing experience in the middle of winter than in the summer.
Got it. So it's a lot more consistent, I guess. You can get the same results anytime, any place, anywhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my dog decided he should be a part of this. Sorry. By the way, microgreens are actually something we've gotten this question before. If animals can eat this, and you can
Uh-huh.
totally give them to cats and dogs, I would
Okay.
check which ones because some, just with any human food, might be
Yeah.
really high in a certain component that maybe is not great for a dog or cat. But I've actually given him kale and radish, and I think he enjoys it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think in general, microgreens are something that people tend to think of as a additional kind of food topper. But I really encourage people to think of it as something that you have almost as your coffee. It's like you have it every day, and you know if you do this consistently, it's crazy how within even a week of eating microgreens, your energy is up, your gut digestion improves,
Wow.
general mood in general can improve because you're giving your body the nutrients that it's craving and in a
Yeah.
really easy, bioavailable way.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again. I appreciate this.
Awesome. Good luck.
Okay,
Thank you
take
for this.
care. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.